Ash Wednesday, an unbiblical tradition of men. Historians tell us that it was around the 600s AD under the papacy of Gregory the Great where the practice of putting ashes on the head was invented for the church. You won't find it anywhere in the 27 books of the New Testament. Neither Jesus nor his apostles anywhere commanded or practiced Ash Wednesday. You just won't see it. You won't see anyone putting ashes on their forehead in the sign of a cross. It's just not in the Bible. So let's take a look at what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 6, verses 16 to 18, which will further solidify the point that Ash Wednesday is not biblical. Jesus said, "Moreover, when ye fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou fastest, anoint thy head, and wash thy face, that thou appear not unto men to fast, but unto thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly." Couple characteristics of a hypocrite. They have a sad countenance and they disfigure their faces. So I recall when I was younger attending a divine liturgy service, and there was a woman there who, she was appearing very somber and serious, and she had her pounding her chest with her fists like this, and just, almost like she was going to weep. Now, some people would look at that and say, wow, what a religious woman. She's so serious about God. But if you actually looked at her life, materialistic, practiced idolatry, no sincere desire for the study of the Holy Scriptures, no true desire to understand what it means to be born again, to get the gospel out. So, that was a religious ritual, and there's millions across the world that perform those rituals, but they don't truly know God. So the sad countenance. The other thing is disfiguring the face. Well, if I put ashes on my head, isn't that disfiguring my face? And again, what's the purpose? Why do religious hypocrites do this? That they may appear unto men to fast. So, and Jesus says they have the reward. So when you put the ashes on and you're very religious, and you want people to see that on your head, and so everyone knows what kind of devout person you are, that's the reward you're going to get. You basically got it. You got the attention of people. They looked at your head. They're like, oh wow, look at the ashes on their head. Oh, they must have went to mass. Now, that's the only reward you're going to get. You're not going to get any reward from God. That's not what God requires, nor does he demand that. Jesus says, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face. Well, if I'm washing my face, I'm not going to have big black ashes sticking out on my forehead, right? So this whole fast is to God only. I'm seeking his face. I'm seeking to get more intimate and a closer relationship with him. I'm not doing it because of a religious ritual, or so that I can appear devout, or that I can pretend to be religious, once a year or whatever. So again, this is what Jesus clearly taught. There's another text, Isaiah 58, that's in the Old Testament, where God speaks about the fast that he's chosen to loose the bands of wickedness, undo heavy burdens, to take care of the hungry, the poor, and so forth. So a true fast results in truly good works done in faith. There's a lot of people that will they'll be acting religious on Ash Wednesday. They'll put the ashes on, appear devout, but they could care less about the poor and the hungry. They could care less about getting the gospel out, to undo burdens, to unloose the bands of wickedness, and so forth. So we got to stick with what the Bible says. Now, some people will say, yeah, but doesn't it talk about someone sitting in with a sackcloth and ashes? And okay, yeah, it does have that as an example, the Old Testament. But again, there's also animal sacrifice in the Old Testament. We don't do that again, do we? So we have Christ as our final sacrifice. So we got to go by what Jesus explicitly taught. So just because you read a text in the Old Testament doesn't justify inventing a church tradition or religious ritual to practice in the New Testament that Jesus or his apostles never commanded. So I pray that you would examine the text that I spoke about. If you're a person that's very devout and you're practice Ash Wednesday, you would reconsider it in light of what Jesus clearly taught. Thank you for listening. God bless.